Hello again. Next, for a very brief intro on using economics as a science. In the last video, I mentioned how economists use mathematical and graphical models to look at individual behavior. Well, the reason we do this is hopefully to use economics in a way that's approaching science. And by that I mean in many scientific fields, the degree of prediction that comes from theories, say in physics or somewhere else, are highly accurate and allow very complex missions to go forth, such as shooting a rocket into the air and knowing exactly where it will be able to land millions of miles away. On the way to another planet or the moon or something like that. The science, the theoretical science that we have in those fields have high predictive power. In economics, we try to develop these theories, but the basis of our observations, where we're starting from, is people, and people are very complex and unpredictable themselves. Thus, theories about people and how they'll behave can vary widely and may not have a lot of predictive power. That being said, we try to employ scientific methods to get to know things a little bit better, to learn a bit more about the world. And so I just want to explain, in a very simplified way, what's going on, and in a proper way to use economics for science, in my estimation. Again, very simply, where are we starting off from in this idea of using economics as a science is we have to start with theory. It comes from our model building, it comes from our ideas and previous research on economic behavior. So that with our economic modeling, that leads us to have some kind of theoretical basis. And the reason why theory is important, especially the theoretical economics that we employ in neoclassical theory, is that that theory allows for testable hypotheses. So that's our second, is if we make, starting from theory, if our theory is designed in such a way that we can make predictions on observable things in the world, then that's conducive to more scientific research and being able to falsify what we're saying, which is a good thing. That helps us know if we're on the right track or not. Of course, after prediction, we want to test what we've theorized and what we've predicted in the real world. So that leads to empirical work, empirical study. Empirical study, where we collect data or we use existing data in new ways to test our theories. And you do honest analysis of the data that you have, or come up with new data, and you get findings that either confirm your theory. It adds weight to that theory, suggesting that that theory is indeed on the right track, or maybe it calls into reasons why to adjust the theory. So this box over here, confirm or adjust. You might have findings that suggest, hey, hold off, we need to think about this more, and perhaps go back to the drawing board. So those are four basic principles that we use in research. Of course, the act of science is not an individual one. The act of science is, in fact, a community-based thing. So perhaps the most important aspect of this is having someone else do it again and again and again. And this is the act of essentially replication. Replication. So taking previous work, reanalyzing the theory, perhaps adding something to it, perhaps adjusting assumptions, going back to the rule of prediction, perhaps taking the same theory but applying it to a different context or using a different data set to check to see if the work that was done before is valid in a different setting, and then adjusting or confirming or outright throwing out previous work. So this is the community effect. So just to give us an example, one we will talk about in class is studies around bed nets, insecticide treated nets to keep mosquitoes off of someone at night to lower the spread of malaria. This is used very often in very warm climates. This is something I wore over my bed when I lived in the Amazon jungle and Peace Corps. So there's been lots of studies to see how do you get the most bed nets to people, and so that they will use them more. And so one bed net study, it used the theory of our economic theories of demand, which basically suggest, and they make a prediction. So this is theory of consumer behavior, along with various medical and public health theories kind of combined. But one of the main predictions that they wanted to test was if you lower the price of bed nets, or make them free, will more people use them? Because if more people use them, it helps you get to a type of herd immunity effect where nobody's getting malaria. So they tested this prediction. If you lower the price or give them away for free, do more people purchase them, get them from clinics, and continue to use them? So they did an empirical study to test this, and in one study, they actually confirmed that, demand theory is working here, even when we're talking about malaria bed nets in very poor countries. So that was one study that went through this in a very real way, and it had very good. It ended up suggesting a policy to give away bed nets at a really discounted rate or for free. So the last part of this is, they tried. Other researchers tried it in a different context. Same theory, same prediction. However, in their empirical study, they found that people had distrust of what they saw as government handouts or handouts from organizations outside their country. And they were getting these bed nets free and did not use them. So they were in a different set of institutions where that idea of demand theory, lowering the price to bed nets and then them making a decision on it, it did not work. So here, it would be in a different context. It led them to need to adjust theory, add to that theory. It's not just the theory of demand, but it's also an institutional theory. So this helps you get an idea of where, both your neoclassical approach and your institutional approach might work. Now, lastly, why do we do this? Well, we do this, as I just went through, to decipher in certain context what is the best policy. Does our theory in making predictions and studying and replicating these things, does it lead to a best policy practice? And that's what we would have. This is the outcome of this work, is that all this wants to lead to what do we know as best policy or best practice? Because some of this stuff, it would be, not for non-profits or government, but would be for businesses, for human resources practices, for training decisions. looking at previous research, previous theory, doing your own tests, that helps us discover which are the right practices. So in one country, giving away bed nets for free might be the best practice for there based on previous research. But we can't say that it's true for any country. You may not be able to take a policy from one place and put it down in another. Thus, you need more research and replication. So, thank you very much. Talk to you soon.